Hey folks, welcome back to Blessed by G Beats. I am the G, and today, man, we're going to get into an extremely dope video. We're going to get into this new clips function by Native Instruments. Everybody's talking about Maschine Plus, Complete 13. I love Certified Gold. It came out at the end of September, but I'm telling you, the single best update that Native Instruments did was adding the clips function to the Maschine software. And guess what? It's free. So we're going to get right into this video, but first, I'm going to let you hear the first beat that I made with the clips function and Certified Gold. Check it out. Yo, G, bless him, bless him, bless him, bless him, bless him, Yo, G, bless him, bless him, bless him, bless him, bless him, bless him. Yo, G, bless him, bless him, bless him, bless him, bless him, bless him, bless him. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Blessed by G Beats once again. I had to take a break, and in reality, it wasn't a break, but I had to upgrade. Someone gave me a great donation, and I upgraded my 2012 MacBook Pro to a 2020 MacBook Pro. No, a 16-inch MacBook Pro. I was not going to wait for the new Silicon Maxes they're talking about. No, I needed to upgrade right now. Trying to do screen recording, updating a Catalina course, and these expansions from Native Instruments, they're pretty power hungry. I decided, man, it was just time to do an upgrade. So that took me a whole week to get the laptop upgraded, of which I'm still not done upgrading. But for the most part, I got everything I need to pretty much make beats. And I'm actually going to do a video. I'm going to go over this whole little setup I got right here because I've been upgrading incrementally in case you've been paying attention to the videos from audio interface, now the MacBook Pro, then the interface that goes with the MacBook Pro, uh, just some other little things that I've been doing also as far as upgrading my setup. But nevertheless, today we're going to get into this awesome update that Native Instruments made called Clips. And Clips, it's just something that's long overdue, something that people have been long asking for as it applies to Native Instruments. And I think one of the things that people were really wanting this for was because whenever we wanted to do some transitions or something of that effect, it was always hard to do. But now with the new clips function, so many workflows, man, the workflow becomes so much more streamlined because you don't have to make an 8-bar pattern to put in something that only takes 1 bar. So as a matter of fact, we're going to get into a brand new beat, and I'm going to show you how to make a beat in the clips function from start to finish. But I want to show you this real quick first. Let me save this because I actually have something pulled up. I actually have some sounds pulled up here that we're going to make this beat with. But first, I want to show you just what people were asking for as it applies to this whole clips function. So we're going to go back to the beat that I previously was playing. First beat I made with the clips function, and I think the second beat that I may have made with certified gold expansion. But I want you to pay attention here. So there was once upon a time that if you wanted to drop in, like this is my beat tag. Once upon a time, if you wanted to drop in this beat tag, you would have to go into pattern view. You would have to go all the way into the ideas view. And of course, there's nothing there now because this song was made totally in Clips. But you would have to make an entirely different pattern. And if your part of the song was 8 bars, you'd have to make it 8 bars and then go to the end of the 8 bars and put that sound in or wherever you want to put it in. But now that we have this new clips function, I want you to pay attention to what I did with this group right here. This is my beat tag. You'll notice, look, all I had to do was put that one little section in right there, and it was a wrap. That simple. Didn't have to make another 8-bar pattern, and you can just drag it wherever you want it, and it's that simple. And a lot of people were clamoring for this, whenever they had to do transitions, because even when you do transitions, it becomes very difficult because once again you have to go through and erase the end of every bar or erase the end of the section of the song. You might have to erase the last bar, the last 2 bars, and it got very tedious. So today I'm going to show you. The cool thing is now we no longer have to even worry about that. We can just flat out go straight to the song view and make a beat pretty much like you do in a traditional DAW, which I'm so ecstatic about because now you can still use the patterns and the scenes and just use the clips to enhance the workflow if you really like that. But I think it's better to go ahead and just jump right over to the song view and just do everything in clips. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take you from start to finish. This beat, it's not gonna be anything too extensive, but I'm gonna take you from start to finish on how you basically do a beat with the clips function. And then I'm also going to show you some pros and cons as we go along and kind of help you with some of the things that I learned from, but basically talk about some of the pros and cons as we're delving into this whole thing. So without further ado, let's see what it do. So first things first, we're going to go ahead and go into the song view. We don't even have to worry about being in the ideas view. We're going to go to the song view. Now, I'm going to tell you something that's very, very interesting that I found out. So let's go up here to the bots kit, right? If you want to, you can go right into just making the beat. But watch this. Change that tempo. I've been doing about 150 these days. So as we look at this, notice the clip. Here it is. We got that snare on that clip. No problem. No problem with that, right? Now I'm going to tell you something that I learned. Whenever you work with clips, you're still going to have to work with scenes. You don't have to work with patterns, but you do have to work with scenes. And I'm going to tell you why. It's really elementary when you think about it. Let's put a little bit more into this beat. So we're going to quantize that. We're going to come down. So when we go back up here, let's resize that clip. We can drag this out if we want to. Nothing's going to be there. But One of the things that I quickly figured out is if you're going to make beats in this way, Native Instruments still requires you to stay very organized as you do this because, and I'm thinking this is by design because I think this is the first step into working in the traditional DAW mode, but I don't think it was necessarily meant to make your entire song in this mode as much as maybe it was still meant for you to use or to enhance patterns and scenes or working over songs. So notice, you can't, from what I can tell, you cannot select more than one clip at a time, no matter what you do. Maybe this is something you can do, but from what I've noticed, you can't do it, right? But in actuality, it makes perfect sense of why you can't do it. Because Native Instruments still wants you to work with scenes at the bare minimum, which makes really perfect sense. Now, in a perfect world, you would just wish you could just come up here, as you saw when I clicked on the plus sign. You would just wish you could just hit the plus sign up here and you could add song sections up here, but you can't. So what you have to do, if you actually happen to start like this, like I did when I first did the last beat, notice what it says. Insert scene 1, insert as clip. So let's insert scene 1. So if you start making a beat before you finish, if you start making a beat before you make a scene, basically all you have to do, create the scene and then drag your clip into it. And then if you want to move around entire scenes, so we're going to copy this scene, right? We'll hit duplicate and then we come over here and right click. So we got scene 1 and scene 2. Now, if you want to move it around, as you see, then you can move it around to your heart's content. But to do this, you're going to have scenes. You can't move groups of clips without the clips being in scenes. It makes sense. It makes sense once you kind of think about the fact that basically what they want you to do, for example, Native Instruments is fixing it to where you can still have the sections of your songs named, right? So that way you can duplicate or, so for example, you can duplicate and notice when you duplicate, it turns into a whole new scene, right? So let's rename that one verse. We're just playing around for right now, right? So now you can actually come over here and operate this the way you normally do. If you want to come back in here and insert the chorus, boom. Only problem is, okay, I just noticed that. Okay, this is something else I just learned new. So it actually does not let you do what you used to do and select that chorus, because normally you could select chorus in this list here, and then it would put this right back over here. So you can't actually do it, right? So you actually can't do it. So that means that this is why I say I'm not really sure if Native Instruments in this update intended for clips to be used in a way to where you do the entire song, because you're going to find yourself doing exactly what I did when I made the first beat. You're going to find yourself to where, let's say this chorus, you're going to find yourself to where you're actually going to be duplicating it and then duplicating it, and then let's say this would be chorus drop or whatever, because this is going to lead into the next verse. You're going to have to just duplicate it and then keep working like that. Now, this, in my opinion, as we keep working, I'm just showing you from the scratch beat perspective before we get into an actual beat. But this right here, to me, is where it requires you to be extremely organized. Because for me, I'll tell you this. So I would actually rather, let's say we're going to rename this the bot kit, right? I would actually rather, and we'll rename this hero because that's, I think, what it is in Cloud Supply. So let's say you take this course drop and let's say you say, hey, you know what? I want to duplicate this because this is basically what you do. Once you get a pattern built up, you start duplicating it, adding and subtracting and making your different parts. But the thing that kind of irks me also when you start talking about one of the cons of this, when you duplicate, look what happens. Even though it is a unique pattern, it changes it into scene 6, but my problem becomes you find yourself in a vicious cycle of, if you really want to stay organized, you're going to be naming clips all day long. I really wish Native Instruments would have fixed it to where the names of the clips, if you're going to copy them over, let's just say you got one named drum pattern, or you got one named snare, or whatever you have it named. It doesn't make sense to me that every time you copy the clip, copy the scene, you're going to have to rename every single clip. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It requires, unless you're just going to say forget it and you're not going to, unless you're just going to say forget it and you're not going to name any clips and basically you're just going to keep up with the scenes up here. Unless you're going to just do it like that, I think it's fine, but I don't think it's necessarily fine because I think it makes the process a lot more tedious. Because let's just say right here, I say, you know what, here on scene 6, I'm actually going to take a bar. I'm going to take a whole bar out, right? I'm just going to take a whole bar out. Well, if I want to copy that bar over to another section, I would rather that have a name to where I can find it, and I would rather have maybe a unique name to where I could say clip 5 or beat drop right here just on this one clip, or snare drops out on this one clip. I would rather have that in there so when I drag it to another scene of the song, it will still have that name and I know exactly what's going on. So it really requires you, if you're going to use this particular mode, it really requires you to be very, very organized. And I can tell you right now, most people, when they get into the flow of making a beat, not really, you don't really want to focus so much on the organization. Now, some people are, I don't know, OCD or whatever they call it, and some people are very organized in naming every single thing. But I think that part of it, I think that's a little tedious, especially once you name. Because one of the things that I did is I went through when I made that my previous beat. I labeled a clip when I came up with the main. I labeled it when I came up with the main section that was going to be the chorus section, or the section that had every element in it. I had all those clips named, and then when I started copying and duplicating, things kind of went haywire because I'm like, whoa, hold on a second, I'm having to rename all these clips, or either I'm just going to just leave them generically named clip 1 or clip 20 or clip 25. Native Instruments really needs to work on that particular part, and I just think that's too tedious. But let's kind of get into the workflow real quick. Let's kind of get into the workflow, and I'm going to show you, to the best of my knowledge, how to work with this as we make a beat. So